Hello and welcome to another anime lore and theory video. I'm Shergog, your host, and today we are going to take a closer look at what is west of the world map of the New World. But before we are going to take a closer look at any of this, let me quickly thank my Patreons for supporting this channel, and say my thanks to all users of the YouTube thanks function for making one-time donations. And with that said, let's take a look at the topic at hand. The Overlord world map ends at the coastline of the former Kingdom of Riestais, the Arklan Council State, and the Holy Kingdom. But what is west of it? Do we have any ideas what goes on beyond the western edge of the map, like we do with its eastern part? Or is there nothing written about it? Well, let's find out. And right off the bat, there's less written about what is west of the world map than what is east. For while we know that the Carnaso City-State Alliance is east of the Empire, that further east lies the nation of the Beastmen, the Minotaur Kingdom, the nations of Trolls and the Goblin Kingdom, not to mention Platinum's other states and nation-building projects, the western edge hasn't been all that well described. But there are a few things we can say about it. First and foremost, the seawater is actually sweet water. We don't know why this is the case, or if perhaps the entire sea is in actuality one single gigantic lake, or if this is just how the world of Overlord works. But we know that it had been a very good thing for sentient life apparently, for the sea, just like the land, is filled with intelligent non-human life forms. At the coastal regions of the Arklan Council State, there exists many sea lizard men, who just like their counterpart in the lakes of Asalesia, are likely living off the fish and the bounty of the sea. However, since the sea is so vast, even if the lizardman population grows, the supply of fish would not simply get exhausted, like it was the case in the single closed-off lake that the land-dwelling lizardmen inhabit. And therefore, the population is more stable and less prone to things like hunger and infighting, and also likely richer, because they could sell any surplus or anything else that they found on the coastal regions on the markets of the council state. And deeper in the water, even more west of the lizardman, we also find another species that is most interesting, the so-called mermen. And these very deep-worn looking fellows are inhabiting the waters most of the time, but are also able to walk on land. And they are also a civilization that can, and in fact does, live underwater nearly permanently. And the fact that they not only coexist, but are indeed at least to a certain degree allied with the Holy Kingdom, although the demi-human attacks on the Holy Kingdom has led to certain prejudices against these demi-humans, they nonetheless have a positive relationship with the Holy Kingdom and live near its coast, peacefully coexisting with humans, which again is very special for this world. And they are also more of their kind living in the Arklan Council State, or rather in the waters around its shores, so the nation actually extends underwater. And we don't know how far these realms stretch, but they are definitely west of the world map. And if lizard men are living at the coast and venture into the water to fish, and if mermen live in the coastal waters and venture occasionally on land, we also can assume that there are other aquatic or even fully aquatic species living down on the ocean floor in nations of their very own, unable to dwell on land at all. So there's like an entire different world underwater waiting to be explored. And the fact that these mermen look suspiciously like deep ones from the Cthulhu mythos also might mean that there's a sunken city with a sleeper somewhere west of the world map. The very same person Platinum potentially wants as an ally. So this is something to keep in mind, that this world likely not only has the equivalent of deep ones, but also Cthulhu somewhere in its oceans. Which then of course leads us to the question, what is even further west of all of this? Is there land? Is there just more sea? What lies beyond the horizon? And sadly we don't have any hints about other continents. It is entirely possible that more land masses are out there, or that the ocean is all there is. And if you would sail west, you would eventually discover the eastern part of this very continent, in which case the continent might be akin to Pangaea, the single greatest supercontinent that existed long before our own time, and united every single one of our own continents. But given the fact that this world map looks like parts of the Middle East, we could also assume that the world map is like our own world map, a reflection and mirror of it, which would also imply that west of the world map lies the equivalent of Italy, Spain, and eventually North and South America. And in this case, the oceans we see could indeed just be a sweetwater lake, basically the Mediterranean Sea. So, this fact that there's an extreme resemblance between the world of Overlord and our own could mean that we have a general idea about how the entire world of Overlord looks like, even though we have been given only a small part of it. And in this case, the world would be much bigger than we initially thought. But since it was stated repeatedly that this is the western end of the continent, I would also guess that there's not much land left to the left side of the world map, simply because if this was truly the case, then this part of the continent would not be called the western part of it. And it was also said that the western part of the continent is pretty weak compared to the middle, where powerful realms such as the Troll or the Minotaur Kingdom fight for supremacy. So therefore I would say that the continent likely ends in the west, and the realm of sea creatures truly begins. Lastly, if there are other continents west of the western part of Overlord's world map, it would be interesting to know whether or not they still have dragon lords, and how numerous they are there, because it was said that the 8 Great Kings conquered the entire continent in a very short amount of time. But did the dragons that they defeated try to reach out to their brethren? Do they have own emperors and rulers in their own continents? Are the dragon lords of the known continent perhaps held in contempt by the rest of the other dragon lords for summoning the players and world items, thereby damaging the wild magic system? Or is this continent the only one that even exists? Again, sadly we don't know for certain, but we know that the Dragon Lords were decimated, and that not all Dragon Lords fought the players. So we can't really extrapolate how Dragon Lords on other continents, if they even exist in the first place, would have reacted to the 8 Great Kings, and the war against their very own kind. And finally, if there are other continents out there, then it would be very likely that other players were also transported there. So while Einsolgon conquers the continent he started on, another guild could also have arrived on another continent and started to conquer the continent that they have arrived on. And even if this isn't the case, there could have been a lot of powerful players that were transported not to the lands, but indeed to the oceans of this world, and perhaps can't even venture onto the land anymore. Again, there's so much potential awesomeness left to explore that I feel a bit sad that the series will end soon, with just a few more novels coming out. And with all of that said, now it's your turn. Do you agree with what I have said? Do you want to add something to the video? Then let me know it down in the comment section. And while you type, I say my special thanks to Ada Daddy Ada, Bad Guy Ye, Bad Burrito 316, Bezer, Ben C, Brandon D, Chrissy, Crowley 0221, Sia, Crystal Prime, Dead Slime, Death is Mercy, Deathless Dragonlord, Demon Xenomorph 1987, Devin Downen, Ding Dong, Dragonlord Plasi du Saxophon, Duckwagon, Dunkler Krieger, Dystopia, Dystopia II, Enigmatic Unicorn, Thiralchivan, Guy with That Hat, Hector Marino, Hoss, Huster, Jacob G, Jonna B, Jason, J. Morris, Chromius, Kyle R, Lee K. Long, Legendarius, Le Louche Britannia Viffy Mustache, Lexus Fox, Lord Nishikian Rai, Lord Touch Me, Loftrazor, Merovec, Mr. Shoes, Mr. Tweaker, Michael R, Michael Y, Nope, Oh Hell No, Normal Toad, O'Kill, Overlord General Gasper, Paddy Pantom, Personage, Primus 11, Rhinomere, Q&A Caracos P, Shergox is Daddy, Shadow Lightning Wolf, Shrine Keeper, Super Tier Magic Batista Bomb, Supreme Cheese, Staris, Ted, Texas Deer, The Orc Warboss, Rocket Smasher, T.E. Wang, Vash Hawkeye, Vegito 27, Venture Fanatic, Wilhelm, Xenukai, and Zonagon. Thanks guys. Anyway, have a nice day, and I hope to see you all again soon on my next video.